Today in the show, I'm going to be answering the question, just who is Spider-Gwen? Before we get started today, I just wanted to tell you guys about Comics Amino. It's a comic book community app that's a little bit like Tumblr and Facebook, but for comic book fans, which is amazing because it gives us a place to unite our interests as one community. I got tagged in the My Comic Story tag on this app, which is basically a tag where I have to explain why I started reading comics, why I kept reading comics, and how they've influenced my life, which I think is a really interesting story to tell. And I'm tagging all of you. So you go and download this app, do the My Comic Story tag, and send it to me as well, so I can read how you got into comics, because I always find that kind of stuff very interesting. The app is completely free, it has no ads in it. I've put links down below to where you can get it for iOS and in the Google Play Store. So Gwen Stacy is a character that would first appear in The Amazing Spider-Man number 31 in 1965. However, in The Amazing Spider-Man number 121, she was killed off. She was actually thrown off the George Washington Bridge. Peter did try saving her, but the way he tried saving her actually caused her death. And this affected Peter for a very, very long time. And it actually affected a lot of Peter's fans. It turned a lot of people away from Peter Parker for quite a while. Gwen Stacy's death marked the end of the Silver Age of comic books. However, it is worth saying that it's thanks to Gwen Stacy's death that Peter and Mary Jane began to develop their relationship. They got very, very close, and that's one of my favourite comic book relationships of all time. So the concept of Spider-Gwen actually came from Dan Slott, but she was created in the end by Jason Latour. The thing is, Latour didn't actually want to make Spider-Gwen because he knew that if it was going to bomb, it was going to bomb hardcore, and he wasn't convinced that the comic book world was ready for Spider-Gwen. He knew that bringing Gwen back was just a no-no. You can't bring Gwen Stacy back from the dead. So his solution around this was to use a Gwen Stacy from a different universe, and by that effect this would be a different character. And in this universe, Gwen Stacy never died, it would actually be Peter Parker that died. So by doing this, he's not bringing Gwen Stacy back from the dead, he's using a different character that's a different universe's version of Gwen Stacy. So while the two characters might be similar, they are not the same person. Comics culture was more than ready for this, especially since in the recent years we have just been overwhelmed with multiverse stuff from both Marvel and DC. We were prepared for it, and it was absolutely brilliant, and fans loved her all around. So Gwen Stacy from Earth number 65 would first appear in Edge of Spider-Verse number 2 as Spider-Woman. So here's how things went down in Earth 65. Gwen Stacy was bitten by the radioactive spider, so she became the Amazing Spider-Woman, and she did fantastic things while juggling school life and juggling band life. One day, Gwen saw that Peter Parker was being bullied, so she stood up for him. But this just gave the bullies even more fuel, and this drove Peter Parker over the edge. So he created a chemical that he would inject himself with that turned him into this universe's version of the Lizard. The thing is, he used a chemical in this composition, I'm assuming some kind of steroid, that sent his body over the edge, and this caused his death. And his final words were that he wanted to be special like Spider-Woman. Everyone would blame Spider-Woman for Peter's death, and a warrant would be put out for her arrest. And she would defend herself over the years, and she would say, "I didn't kill Peter Parker, this isn't my fault." But the police would keep going after her for years and years and years, right up until she was in college. It's also worth saying that over the years the Mary Janes did stay together, but Gwen just was not close to Mary Jane. In fact, Mary Jane refers to Gwen as a total head case. One night at one of the Mary Jane's gigs, an assassin is sent to kill Gwen's father, who was in attendance. So Gwen becomes Spider-Woman, defeats the assassin, turns around, and her own father has her at gunpoint. And she tries defending herself, starts saying, "I didn't kill Peter Parker, don't kill me, man I've never met before," and her father just isn't listening. So she takes off her mask and says, "Dad, the world needs me as Spider-Woman. Are you really going to take away from the world something it needs, and he tells her to get going before he changes his mind. I found this part very, very powerful because I, from sort of personal experience, know what it's like to have to tell your parents, this is what I am, this is what I do, and you've got to accept that. Fortunately, in my case, my parents were more than happy to accept it, but in Gwen's case, her father wasn't 100% okay with it, and I know a lot of minority groups can relate to Gwen in that sense, so I think she's a very powerful character to have. Spider-Gwen would go on to work with the other spider totems throughout the rest of Spider-Verse, and I'm going to get into that in the coming months in my Spider-Verse videos. What you need to take note of, Peter Parker, as in the main universe Peter Parker, Spider-Man, didn't actually want Spider-Gwen to be involved with the action because he had already lost his own Gwen Stacy. He didn't really want to lose another one. And Spider-Gwen, Gwen Stacy, didn't want Peter Parker to really be leading all the action here because she had already lost her own Peter Parker. She didn't want to lose another one. But it's because of this the two of them actually become kind of close, and it was really sweet to see, and I can't wait to see if more of that evolves in the future. Probably not, because Mary Jane's around. As much as I did find it sweet, I have to say I do prefer Peter and Mary Jane at the end of the day, but I wouldn't mind if Peter temporarily ended up with Gwen Stacy, much like I don't mind Superman being with Wonder Woman at the moment, but we all know that Superman will eventually end back up with Lois Lane. Spider-Gwen would go back to her own universe, and this is where her solo Spider-Gwen series would start. And I'm very interested to see where this leads post Secret Wars and Battle World. I really want to know what's going to go on with that, because obviously all of the multiverse is together as one giant beast now. So it'll be interesting to see how she exists in this new world. Okay guys, that is it for today. So what do you think of Spider-Gwen? Please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history videos. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so I can make bigger and better and more history videos. And also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel, my vlogging channel, and follow me on Twitch. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.